Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I'm joined by Ade from Access Health Therapy. Say hello, Ade.
Hello. How you
Hello.
doing, Polly?
Good. Thank you so much for giving up your time to talk to me tonight. I'm pretty much going to just sort of get out of the way and let you jump straight in and tell us your story of good coming out of bad.
Okay. Um, my story. My story. Young, uh, young thug. Young thug gets into the army. Um, Reasonably good career in the army. 13 years. Upon leaving the army, I tried different jobs, teacher, etc., etc. I didn't really settle down and
Right.
got dragged back into military environments. So I did a lot of private security, anti-piracy, things like that, in between doing studying. So
Okay.
I kind of went from one extreme, um, war zones and mayhem and everything, over to a medical side, which is saving lives.
Uh-huh.
Um, and some kind of karma, cosmic balance going on there, I suppose.
Okay.
Um, it worked to a certain degree, and I found balance. But I still found myself leaving the ambulance service and going back to pseudo military environments as a medic,
Okay.
just because I felt more comfortable in those environments, I guess.
Right.
Um, so I carried a lot of trauma. Carried a lot of trauma from the military and from the ambulance and from the private military security environments.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I had an event that happened with about four of us in a hotel room in the middle of Baghdad one night,
Yeah.
and we had a cup of tea, green tea, and there was rockets flying past the window, and they used to use the 14th floor of the hotel as an aiming marker to hit the embassy in the green zone on the other side of the river.
Wow.
So we happened to be on the 14th floor. So we literally had a window open and a balcony where pretty much you could set your clock by the rockets flying past
Oh my goodness.
every night. So it was been very stressful environment. Quite often the hotel got hit. We would evacuate the hotel, or we would climb out of the rubble or and the smoke and the dust and everything, and then go back to normality afterwards. So I was very, very stressed. Um, and we had green tea and mellow, peaceful music one night.
Right.
And it was kind of like somebody just plugged me in and said, "Oh, there is an alternative to this kind of lifestyle." And since then, I took up meditation,
Mm.
following that. And I started looking into holistic therapies rather than medical therapies after a while.
Okay.
Most of it was self-healing. I had a lot of stress from the military that carried all the way through, and I used to get really bad eczema on my hands and my feet.
Right.
Um, Very debilitating type eczema, very
Sure.
painful, very sore. And after lots of medication, lots of attempts at fixing it, I found that the only true fix was prevention by managing stress.
Okay.
This gave me more and more of an interest in holistics and mindfulness, meditation, and until it became an alternative career path for me.
Right.
So I used it to fix myself, um, and now I use it to fix others.
Fantastic. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you fix others?
Okay. Access Health Therapy is the company name that I run under. I work a lot alongside of ex-veterans that are going through traumatic periods in their life. And it could be anything from stress to trauma, post-traumatic trauma, combat trauma. Um, a lot of the times I get complicated PTSD, or complex PTSD as they call it. And this is basically childhood memories or childhood experiences that have resulted in trauma. Escaped to the military, it would be your average, and received a lot of trauma in the military, which they had under control because they was in that kind of environment. And then all of a sudden they're back into Civvy Street, and their life kind of implodes, and they can't cope anymore. That happens a hell of a lot. But it could also be anything from stress. I do a lot of stress management, anxiety. Just recently, I've had some really good results. An old gentleman, in fact, a few of the same type things, where it's been trauma, but it's been trauma from within a relationship that they wasn't willing to walk out of the relationship, but they're still suffering.
Okay.
That's been very, very interesting to work with for myself. We've all suffered within relationships in the past, or we still do today. So it is quite an interesting subject matter. Really good result just recently with students. One of my clients, young girl, university. She wants to get into university, and she was going through her exams. The last time she went through her exams, she ended up in hospital through stress, and she was in complete and utter chaos. And her mother brought her to me, and I got a message yesterday. She's passed all her A levels.
Excellent.
And she's going to university. She went by the program religiously, and the mother can't sing my praises high enough and can't thank me enough and everything. And I was like, I was dancing all around the house yesterday.
Oh, fantastic! That's really good news. Excellent. So you're making
I get varied clients, very varied clients.
Yeah, and you're making a massive difference to their lives, which is awesome. And that's all come from you. You started off saying that you're a bit of a thug.
My former life is very I don't feel the need to apologise for it, but I am not proud of it.
Right.
I grew up in a very troubled environment, which probably accounted for my trauma that I went through in later life.
Right.
And aggression and anger was the key fix to everything.
Sure.
So I'd get myself into a situation I wasn't comfortable about. I'd probably end up in a fight.
Right.
I would be in school, and I ended up in a fight. I got expelled from school at the age of 14 and couldn't read or write or anything, because all I did was fight and get into trouble.
Right.
I got into trouble with the law, and I actually ended up getting locked up for a short while.
Okay.
In a young offenders institute. I got a lucky break, a very, very lucky break. A colour sergeant at the Army Careers Office. The only thing I'd ever wanted to do was be in the military. I mean, I was that kid that always just buried myself in the commando magazines, little books that I used to pick up everywhere.
Okay.
And the colour sergeant looks at me and he said, "Bit of a fighter, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, yeah, a bit." And he said, "Can you box?" And I said, "Well, I've done a bit." And he basically, I didn't know at the time, but he was part of the army boxing team in his former younger years. And he knew the name, he knew my family name. And he said to me, "If you can keep your nose clean for a year with the Territorial Army, I will get you into the regular army." And following that, he took, because I couldn't even read the recruitment to fill out the forms or anything, let alone do the level that I needed to. So he gave me the answers. He literally sat me down and he said, "Tick these boxes." And it was A, B, D, A, C, anything you want, C. And he turned around and he says, "All you got to do is keep your nose clean, turn up, and you'll be okay." And for just under 8 months, pretty much 5 days a week, I was at the TA centre in Wolverhampton, and and I worked there underneath the QM until they turned around and said, "Yep, not a problem, done good. Now you go into the regular army." And 13 years later, I finished my time.
Fantastic. Wow.
It's a bit different.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It certainly is interesting what you were saying earlier about the clients that you get now having that trauma as kids, then being in the structured environment of the army and achieving within that structure, and then coming out again the other side, and not only having the potential trauma of what they might have seen on a tour, but also the trauma that they might have experienced when they were younger. And you're able to recognise that now.
Oh, 100%. My childhood was quite brutal at one stage, and I didn't know about this until I'd actually started doing courses that explained where you do self-examining and look at the root cause of behaviour problems, and I was like, wow. And I even remember I was sat in a class one day, and I cried like a baby. Because I just had this memory, and I was like, wow, where's that come from? And I was a baby. I was 4 years old, and I remember this event. And this event explained every incident I'd ever had up until the age of 32, 33.
Wow.
But that was kind of like self-examining, looking for purpose within yourself, and building up resilience, and going back to fix the now.
Right.
Which is a lot of the therapy that I do now.
Excellent. That's fantastic. A term that I've heard used more recently through doing all these interviews, and it certainly encompasses what I think you are. I don't know if you agree, but a wounded healer. You've been there, done that, and therefore now you're able to heal others. Very much.
I think. Yeah, and I like the phrase as well. I might use that. But yeah, I think if you can take so much from a book, and you can relay that information forward, and it takes you decades sometimes to actually master the topic that you've read from a book until you can now write your own book. But if you've lived the topic and then had it explained to you why you've lived that way, then you work from experience, and that's a qualification in itself. For me, qualification comes into it's a certificate and it's experience. And if you've had a lifetime of experience, the certificate gives you it's kind of like the icing on the cake to say now you understand your own life, so therefore you can go and help somebody else that's had a similar problem.
Yeah. Perfect. So thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you want to say? Or I mean, I'll share links to your business pages at the end of the video in the description. But any advice you'd like to give out while we're together?
All I would say is I am far from unique. Last week, 7 veterans committed suicide within the UK. The government says statistically this is in proportion to the normal population, and that's not acceptable either.
No.
I work alongside of an organisation called Helper Squaddy, and they do some great things to the point where they are completely and utterly exhausted. They don't have enough resources. They don't have enough finances. Manpower is pushed to the limit. I spend my time doing therapy on the caseworkers to stop them from burning out. They're working so hard. But I think if everybody put themselves forward and said, you know what, we can make a difference in our community. It doesn't matter if it's veterans. Veterans is close to me. It's close to my heart. But we are all within the community. So we can all find something that we can do to make our community, our people, our life better. So if I've got any advice or anything to ask anybody, it would be every day make as tiny. It doesn't matter how small. Just every day make a difference.
I love that. That's a great message. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. We've all got an opportunity to help someone, even if it's in the tiniest of ways, haven't we? Definitely. Fantastic. Oh, Ade, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And I'll just round up the video. So if you like this video, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll get notifications when new videos are uploaded. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. If you search at Be Glad Movement, you'll be able to find us. And please do get in touch if you've got a story, because it doesn't matter if it's something similar to something that someone has already shared. I really do believe that your story in your voice is going to touch someone in some small way and really help them. So please do get in touch if you've got a story to share. I would love to hear from you. And I look forward to seeing you in another episode. Many thanks.